Welcome.
Remix Rod.
Lemon on the Boogie podcast. We just three average guys here to talk a little thing about called sports. And as always, I got with me in a different order today, DOOZE.
Oh yeah, that's because I refreshed.
From Florissant, Missouri.
I'm up top.
He's in the top today. And down low, we got the Wonder Mouse, Dorian Anthony Brown, the Almighty.
Down low.
From Richmond, California.
I was just about to say, that is the wrong phrase to use.
Down low. And you got me, Rod D, right here from the Detroit, Michigan. But even though we are all in different places, we all from the boogie.
The boogie.
We want to welcome each and every one of you to our 20th episode. That's 2 dimes, 4 nickels. However you want to look at it, but this number 20.
$1 minus 80 cents.
Okay, you're going too far now. We want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to join in, continue to uplift us, continue to follow us as we go along. You know, but tell your friends, hit the like button, plus the subscribe button. What's the other one? Follow. Press the follow button. Do all that stuff. Keep in touch with us. Drop us an email. Drop us a line if you want to.
Yeah.
Bam! boogieblaming@gmail.com. You know, drop us a line and, you know, ask us a question. We'll put it on here. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, email us, call us, send us some money, do something.
Do something. You know, all money, you know, you can always send us money to this right here.
Don't call unless you sending some money.
Definitely.
Go to BIOTBpodcast.com. Press that donate button, which I'm going to put on it today to make sure y'all got a way of donating.
You put Dude's number on there so y'all can call him.
Call Dudes.
Call me up.
Call Dudes. Call me.
If you need someone to talk to.
That's Mr. Telephone Man.
That's right. If you try to call me and you ain't got no money, it's going to be something wrong with my line.
Well, as always, the Almighty. Tell the people what we talked about last week, man.
Yeah,
right. So
what did we do?
Recap from last week. We talked about boxing and the fact that it costs money to possess the championship belts, 3%, which was very interesting and expensive. We talked about the NHL. We talked about the NHL awards. We also talked about the NHL draft, and how interesting the rules of the NHL draft were. We talked about the NCAA College World Series, giving a shout out to LSU who won it. But we talked about the series and, you know, how does the ebb and flow of the games. We talked about the layoffs at ESPN that were big news. It's still kind of big news. It's still coming out of the people who are kind of getting laid off and so on and so forth. We talked about, as far as our big topics were concerned, we talked about the Hall of Fame and the qualifications for the Hall of Fame, and how much I hate the Baseball Writers of America. We talked about social media and these people getting carried away with social media, and we're going to talk about that again today.
One more time.
With people after one game calling Wembanyama a bust, but not even after one game. I'm sorry, after seeing him at a shoot around before a photo shoot. Talking about he was a bust. But we'll talk about the Summer League and what people were saying about Wembanyama today. And then our major topic was actually, we talked about the NBA. We talked about Lemon Pepper Lou retiring. And then we had a lot of discussion about free agency. We talked about Chris Paul, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard, and about where they could all possibly go, as far as Damian Lillard and James Harden was concerned. We talked about who would fit where, and about the fact that Rodney really does not want James Harden to come to the Knicks.
Please no. Please no.
And so that's what we that's what we talked about last week. And Rodney did not catch a Charlie horse.
Didn't.
But today it remains
exercising.
Today it remains
stretching,
drinking some pickle juice and some Gatorade. So, and that was what we talked about last week. So,
okay,
we can move on to this week.
Well, thank you, Doran. So this week we do have to start with a little bit of sad news. A couple of well-known players to us, players that we that we like, have either passed on or received some very bad news in regards to their health. We've had Nikki McCrae Pinson, who passed away after a bout with breast cancer. We had the unfortunate passing of Ryan Mallett, former quarterback, that passed away due to a drowning. And then we had the Iron Sheik.
Man, that's our childhood, man.
WWF fame. Iron Sheik passes this recently also. And then also the news that we heard this week, we want to wish Dick Vitale some well wishes. Dick Vitale is going through yet another battle with cancer, throat cancer. So just want to uplift Vitale, Dickie V.
Yeah, most definitely. Love Dickie V, man.
Love him, man.
The voice of college basketball.
Spent a lot of evenings watching Dickie V do a lot of commentating, even back in the day when he was with Coach Valvano.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were great together, man.
They were wonderful together.
Speaking of Jim Valvano, even though I hate the ESPYs and I don't watch award shows, and I actually didn't watch that award show, I still watch that speech
every time.
Every year, I watch that speech every year, and it's still funny every time.
Every year,
every year, it's still funny. So, and then I got to give a shout out to Frat Stu Scott. May he also rest in peace, who gave a great speech as well. They've been replaying his speech. But I have, been donating. I should have put on my t-shirt that I got, my Booyah t-shirt that I got when I donated to the V Foundation last year in honor of Frat Brother Stu Scott. So, yeah.
So Dickie V from Blame It on the Boogie podcast, sending you all our thoughts and prayers.
Yes, sir.
Don't ever give up.
Hoping for a speedy recovery.
Don't ever give up. Right.
Well, off our schedule. Yeah, the Valvano speech, man. Every time you listen to it, it's always inspiring and it always makes you laugh.
From the first time until now.
Man.
And the Rutgers football, when he's talking about Rutgers basketball, man, that had me crying every time.
Oh, when he broke his shoulder trying to get in the door. He's like,
every time.
Faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers. He's like,
faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers. And then when the dude was telling them to wrap it up, he's like, man, I got stuff running all through my body. You think I'm concerned about him?
Everybody that's Italian knew exactly what he said. I didn't know, but it was still funny.
Exactly. So, but I'm like you, D. I'm not a award show person, but every year during this time when they play that Jim Valvano thing, man, it's always good. I always watch it.
Always.
Also this week we have tennis. Wimbledon is going on. We're actually, I think, on the semifinals now.
Yeah, they just did the quarters.
Yeah. So give me an update on the Wimbledon, D.
All right. So really, to be honest with you, I do follow tennis. I know Rodney does too. I always liked watching tennis since I was a kid. But for me, the stories this year, I'm always following the black tennis players.
You gotta follow.
So I watched that first round with Coco Gauff losing.
Yeah, that was a hurdle.
Great match. But that third set, she just could not break serve, and so she ended up losing in the first round. But the story this year, of course, was the brother Christopher Eubanks, out of Atlanta, I believe, made it all the way to the quarterfinals. He's 27. He's older than I thought he was. 6'7".
27.
Yeah, 27 years old. I thought it said he was 27. Maybe I might be wrong, but I thought because when they said his age, I was like, oh, he's much older. But when they talked to him, if you heard him talk, man, he sounded like an older player. You know, he sounded like somebody that had been around for a while and had played in a lot of tournaments and, before and kind of had a breakthrough or whatever. But, from beating Sisyphus to beating also the number 12 seed in the tournament, he just had a hell of a run. But he couldn't get past you. I think you watched it. You watched him play Medvedev, didn't you?
Yeah. He had Medvedev, man. He had him. But in that fourth set tiebreak, Medvedev broke him on his second serve, and he just couldn't recover after that. You get that 2-point lead in the tiebreaker. That's all it takes. 7-5, he lost, and then the fifth set, he just ran out of gas. Medvedev just went ahead and took over. I mean, Medvedev's the number 3 ranked player in the world, man. So it's not like he's a scrub. So but yeah, I was rooting hard for Eubanks, but such is life. There's still plenty of tennis left in him. It's just always great to see the brothers do well. Although, especially in tennis, there's really not that many.
Right.
And
the system.
And the thing about it, with Serena and Venus really not playing. Well, Serena's retired. I don't know if Venus actually officially retired or not.
No, not yet. She played in Wimbledon. First round, yes, she qualified for Wimbledon this year.
Yeah, but we're coming to the end of their reign, and now we gotta uplift Coco, man. Coco needs to come on and do her thing, man, because it's always great to have a sister or a brother, in competition. It keeps it's bad to say, but it keeps us interested in the matches.
Well, we can't forget about Madison Keys.
She did great.
Madison Keys made it. I know we love Coco, but Madison Keys is a sister too.
Madison Keys, she made it to the quarters, right?
She made it to the quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah, she made it to the quarters.
Yeah, but she lost to the. She was a 20. I didn't know she was the 25th seed either. I know Coco was 7th. I didn't know that Madison Keys was 25th seed, but yeah, she lost to the number 2 seed. So
I mean, the thing is,
who lost today, by the way.
It is good that we do have more black players coming through the ranks. Tennis is one of those sports, it's a country club sport.
Yeah.
And it's really one that is kind of difficult if you don't have the financial backing to do, because you have to go to these clubs in order to play. You don't have a lot. I mean, you do have city courts, but there's not a lot of players playing on a city course, especially with the kind of talent that these players have. You got to have a good competition in order for yourself to get better. So it's good to see them continuing to come through the ranks. I want to see more African Americans get into the sport, tennis and golf. For you young fans out there, there's a lot of money, scholarship money in tennis and in golf. I know everybody want to play baseball and basketball and football and bowling.
And bowling, yeah.
Get out there and get that money, man, because it's out there. It's waiting on us. They're begging players to come to take this money. So, I mean, yeah, if you can still do basketball and bowling or football and golf, So get out there and do it. That's my public service announcement for the day.
Right. Yeah. And Rodney, just so you all know, Rodney played tennis when we were in high school.
Yes, sir.
And if you ever want to listen, he will tell you about the greatest tennis match ever
played.
We are tired of hearing about it. But if
the
you
greatest tennis match in the history of tennis,
email, and he'll tell you all about it.
Shout out to Tony Miller, my doubles partner. It was the greatest match in history
that nobody saw.
But the 3 people that was there, not including
and
the
my coaches.
So you have to take their word for it.
They came back. Y'all ain't done yet. Y'all lost by now. Y'all ain't done yet. We ready to go.
Right, they done ran out of hot dogs at the concession stand.
We ready to go. But we had the greatest comeback in the history of tennis. Hey, hit me up. I'll give you all the details. I'm just saying. It'll change your life. Very inspirational. It's very inspirational.
How's it gonna change their life? They're gonna laugh so hard that they die.
So, anyway, that's our Wimbledon update. But we do need to talk a little bit about me and D's one of our favorite sports right now, and that is the wonderful world of golf. We got a couple of things going on in golf right now. One of the things being the hearings on Capitol Hill concerning the merger between the PGA Tour and the Live Golf. And oh wow, what's the other one, D? The European one.
The Scottish Open.
No, the European.
The DTP.
Yeah.
Or the DP Tour.
The DP Tour. So I'm coming back to Durin because he got some news for us on this. Talk to us.
Did I? That's why I was asking you about it earlier. What did you know? What I found out, they were getting talking about it being this merger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Yahoo Sports that I was reading about that was talking about the truth about the merger. And it wasn't necessarily a merger, so to speak.
Can I get the air quotes?
Yeah. Oh, see, yeah. It wasn't a merger, right? Now I feel like I'm in a Austin Powers movie. But it wasn't actually a merger. But that essentially the PGA Tour was being infused with money from the PIF fund,
mm-hmm.
right? And people were all up in arms about this whole idea of the merger, but really what was going on was the fact that the PGA didn't think it could win because of all of the lawsuits and things that were happening, and they didn't have the money to fight the lawsuits. They were trying to do all the things that they could do to try to compete in terms of they were increasing the amount of the purses and all this kind of stuff, but they just really did not have the money to compete. So they went on ahead and decided to accept this PIF money. And so from what I was reading, it seems like that the PGA is still going to be in control of everything, but they're trying to add certain concepts from the Live Tour in there, like the whole idea of the teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's supposed to be like 8 of those tournaments or whatever that are on the Live Tour that's supposed to be part of the PGA and so on and so forth. So it's not quite a merger that people are really thinking about it in that way. But they are trying to do some things to kind of try to make both of them work or whatever. But of course, Rory McIlroy is still getting on everybody's nerves.
Yes, because he's just Rory. Rory always has been a pain in the ass.
Right, with the whole thing. So yeah, I'd like to learn more about it, but it seems like everything is still kind of in flux while it's in court and while Congress is looking at it and all of this kind of stuff. So
the thing about it, the PGA. The only tournament that the PGA actually owns and controls is the PGA Tour Championship. But what they were doing was they were basically colluding with the other tournaments to not allow the Live players to play in those tournaments, and that's where the lawsuits were coming from, because that's actually
antitrust, ain't it?
It's an antitrust violation by the PGA Tour. And like you said, the PGA knew that there was no way they're going to win those cases. They were fighting a losing battle. Plus, they have nowhere near the financial wherewithal as the Live Tour with the PIF money coming from Saudi Arabia. So their only recourse was, hey, let's try to come to some kind of agreement. And you're right, it's not a merger as per se, where companies get together, we form one body. They were still going to have their separate bodies. You had the DP Tour, you had the Live, and you had PGA. So they're all three still going to compete just the way that they are. But the PGA was accepting this money from the PIF fund from the Saudi Arabians to allow them to offer the bigger purses. Also, they were going to allow, again, if you can allow somebody to do something and you don't control it, to play in these other tournaments. So basically, all the players would be back playing on all these different tournaments. They were also going to, like you said, infuse some of the rules from the Live Tour. One of the biggest things was a reduction in the number of tournaments that the players were required to play. That was one of the things that the players really wanted. Because right now there's pretty much, I think we said this a few episodes back, there's 50 tournaments, 50 golf tournaments. The only time they don't have a golf tournament is Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are the only 2 weekends they didn't have a golf tournament. So with the Live, they only had like 34 tournaments, something like that. They had, basically an off season. And that was one of the things that the players liked about the Live Tour. And that's one of the things that the PGA Tour was looking at. So they were the merging part was trying to figure out how they can reduce the number of tournaments that were required based, for like points. They get points for every time they play and win or whatever. So now you can say, hey, we still have the 50 tournaments, but you're only required to play in 34, and your score is going to be based off the 34. So you get your best 34 finishes. Your best 34 tournaments. They're going to take that score. So that's pretty much what they were doing. Now, where Congress comes in, Congress wants to know because again, it was reported as a merger, blah blah blah. The way it was initially portrayed, basically, it was like Liv was buying the PGA Tour, and that's not nearly the case. All they're doing is because the PGA Tour was actually going to control basically everything. And that was one of the main things that they wanted. At the end of the day, they didn't even want to have the Live Tour, but because the PGA wouldn't accept this money from the Saudis, they decided, okay, you won't take our money, we're gonna create our own thing. And when they did, that just caused problems for the PGA. So with Congress was looking into the antitrust stuff. They were looking into how big of a relationship they were going to have with the Saudis, because at the end of the day, they always want to say, the Saudis are bad, but you're still taking their money. You're still taking their money.
An oppressive regime.
But you're still taking their money. So whatever you want to say bad about them, you still taking their money. So, but that's the info from the PGA. We also going to talk a little baseball. That's my next topic. MLB. This week, what was it? Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. Or was it Tuesday? No, it was Tuesday. Tuesday we had the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Monday we had the Home Run Derby. So for the first time in like 12 years, I think it was, the National League actually beat the American League in the All-Star Game.
Right. But it don't mean that now.
It doesn't mean it. Before it used to whoever won got home field advantage in the World Series. So now it doesn't matter. But on Monday, let's talk about Monday. Monday they had the Home Run Derby. So I hadn't watched the Home Run Derby in a couple of years, and because there was absolutely nothing else on TV, I actually watched it. I am not a fan of the new rules that they have for the Home Run Derby.
Me either.
Now the pitcher's like 5 feet away from the batter. He's before they would pitch in front of the mound, well, at the base of the mound. Now he's like
it was batting practice. It was like batting practice, regular batting practice.
Yeah, now they're like 5 feet away from the batter, and this 2-minute junk. I mean, you got 2 minutes to swing the bat. You're gonna hit 30 homers if that's what you do. Go ahead, D.
I hated it. now we sound like men on film. Hated it, man, because you wearing them out.
Yeah,
but you could see how exhausted they were trying to swing. Think about this: you swinging to hit a home run, so that means you're swinging hard. You got 2 minutes. If I'm hitting 35 home runs or 34 home runs or whatever, 30 home runs, right? Well, every one of them that I hit isn't a home run. So that means you're basically throwing me 40 to 50 pitches in 2 minutes.
It's more than that.
That's like
you're giving maximum energy and effort.
Right, maximum energy, but it's like you're swinging for the fences at almost a pitch a second, almost. Like it's almost every time it's like rapid fire. They just steady throwing pitches at you, and it's like, man, you could look and see how tired they were. They had to take breaks. That by the time, and I was like, man, you just wearing them out. It didn't look fun to those that were participating. It didn't look fun at all, and because of that, you don't get the things like you had, like say the old school. Say I'm gonna take this derby for example, the one with Mark McGwire in Boston. You weren't really getting the ooh when he was hitting moonshots over the Green Monster because he had time to get some rest and get ready to hit again. Now they hitting 350, 360, 370, and maybe you might get in the first couple of at bats, you might get the moon shots, but after that, they barely getting over the fence. And it's like, well, what kind of home run contest is that? Yeah, we want to see home runs, but we want to see some home runs. I want to see some 490s, some 500-foot homers, and you can't do that swinging at a pitch every second. You just can't.
Yeah. So the way it used to be, they used to get like 10 outs or something like that. So you got 10 chances to not get a homer. They either hit a foul ball or a line drive or whatever. If it didn't go over the fence, it counted as an out.
Right.
And there wasn't a time limit. So they got a chance to sit there, take a little moment, recuperate a little bit, and swing the ball, hit that ball. But now they're like 5 feet away. And you're right, D. It's like they're holding
rapid fire.
The pitcher is holding 4 balls in his hand, and he's just throwing the ball, just throwing the ball. And my man just swing it. It's swing, get back, swing, get back. It's not fun. It doesn't look fun. And it sure ain't fun for the players. It can't be fun for the players.
Right.
Now the question, a lot of players, just like the dunk contest, a lot of players don't like doing the home run derby because you mess up your swing. So your second half, you mess your swing up, and now you gonna cost yourself some money because you're not gonna perform as well as you did in that first half. Right. So to me. Good.
And I was just gonna say too that to add on to what you were saying, really, with so many swings, that increases the chances for injury.
Yes, it does.
When you're swinging that hard, because you're not swinging that many times that hard in a game. But yet you doing it for 2 minutes, and if you keep going on further, you've been doing that for what the home run derby is 2 hours long.
But hold up, D. 2 minutes is what you get guaranteed. But then they give you an extra 30 seconds if you hit like 20 homers, and then you get another 30 seconds if you hit 2 of them that's over 420 feet. So most of them were hitting for 3 minutes.
But see, my question is, who is making up these rules? Is it like former baseball players or current baseball players, or
probably
it
not.
looks like people that never played the sport?
Probably the Baseball Writers of America is probably the one that came up with
not them again. They came back from last week.
Right, I can't stand them bastards.
They came back from last week to write the rules.
It can't be a baseball player that said, you know what, man, if we swing, we can get 100 swings in 3 minutes. That's just stupid.
Yeah,
that
is absolutely
more
stupid.
Swings, the better.
Man, let's give them an extra 30 seconds if they hit 20 homers. So then we got an extra 30 seconds of home runs. Man, that wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. It's kind of, and the thing about it, I mean, don't get me wrong. They want for somebody to hit 30 homers. That's a lot. That's great. But you can kill the man. You can kill them.
Shout out to Vlad Jr. for winning it all.
Vlad Jr.
Again, Vlad,
Shout
you did your thing. You
Yeah.
won. It got the money, got the belt.
But he tired.
But you tired. You need a vacation from. You need an All-Star break from this All-Star break.
Right, and then you expect them to turn around and play in the All-Star game the next day.
Exactly. So yeah, not a fan. Not a fan.
Now, something that somebody brought up that I thought was really interesting, because they do this in all of the other All-Star games. I think they started doing it in the NFL again. Did a skills competition?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody made a point that would be a good idea in Major League Baseball to actually do a skills competition.
Yeah.
Now it would be interesting to see what kind of skills they would show. They were joking about Tom and Mansky throwing from right field into a trash can, that kind of stuff. But it would be interesting to see what kind of skills competition they could have, because they do it in the NBA, they do it in NHL. So it's probably something that you could do in Major League Baseball, to have some type of skills competition, so that the only thing so you don't just only have the home run derby and then the All-Star.
You have guys like timing and running the bases.
Yeah, I want to see first to third.
Yeah,
let's have a first to third contest.
Right, that kind of stuff. Which interesting. Now that something else that we're going to talk about is the fact that stolen bases are up. Whitey Ball is back. Now, for those who thought I was being racist, y'all obviously are not from St. Louis.
And you're not a Cardinal fan.
You are not a Cardinal fan if you don't know what I mean by Whitey Ball. Whitey Ball is back. They running.
You racist sucker.
Right. So somebody sitting up calling me a racist because they don't know what they're talking about. But man,
for all my young people, he's referring to Whitey Herzog, the former coach, manager of the St. Louis Cardinals that took us to the championship.
Oh boy, the jokes that we could have used with this one.
Right. So they talking about the game time is down, right? Stolen bases are up. The younger players are coming through. And it's interesting that the teams that are now playing the best are the youngest, because they've gotten into the running game, right? So now the old players with the old school baseball, with the money ball, where all they were doing is get on base, don't run, just wait on somebody to hit a 3-run homer, right? That they did for years, right? Because chicks dig the long ball, right? How sexist was that? That was a whole slogan of ESPN and Major League Baseball. Nobody thought about it anyway. But so now the teams that are winning are the ones with the most stolen bases. The Reds, the Rays, and the Diamondbacks are the teams with the most stolen bases. The most extra bases taken. The Rays, the Diamondbacks, the Braves, because Acuna is he's the man. The Reds and the Orioles. And so now it's gone back to being about batting average, not about home runs and so on and so forth. So you're starting to see the old school baseball kind of come back into play. And, my man, I got to talk about my man, Ellie De La Cruz. Dude, this dude stole second, third, and home.
And home.
At bat.
I saw
that. The same at bat.
He's a monster. Now, I'd love to see him go from first to third.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be a wonderful skills competition. Have him go from first to third.
That would be wonderful to see, because that dude is a monster. But yeah, so I'm happy now that kind of old school baseball is back, where they're stealing more bases and so on and so forth. Why? Because it makes the game more exciting. Even the length of the game notwithstanding, with the pitch clock and all that kind of stuff, which is making the game shorter. But baseball is more exciting. You're just not waiting for somebody to go to first base, then the second base, and then hope somebody hits a home run, and that's the only excitement that you get. Now you get all kinds of excitement with stolen bases and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's running. So baseball is much more fun to watch now than it had previously been in the last few years.
But you know what? The thing about it, it goes back to your Oakland A's and the what do you call it? What was the thing? What was the term for the Oakland A's?
Sorry,
Bash Brothers,
Billy Ball, or what do you call it?
the Bash Brothers.
When they brought in the analytics to baseball, Moneyball. When they brought the analytics to baseball,
Billy Bean and all them.
Yeah. The thing about it, again, when you go back to using D's racist term to Whitey Ball, when you go back to the Whitey Ball, Whitey Herzog,
Whitey's ball.
Whitey Herzog. Well, we had Vince Coleman. We had Vince Coleman, Willie McGee. You had Lonnie Smith. So the thing was, either I'm gonna walk or get a hit and get on first base. I'm still in second. Now all I need, either I'm gonna get a hit, but I'm coming home. Mm-hmm. So all I need is one hit to come home. Now you wait, and now I gotta run. But now for years it was I gotta get because if you get on first, now you're not coming home unless somebody hit the ball over the fence.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to steal because I don't want to take away the opportunity from somebody who might hit a 3-run homer.
I don't want to take. Well, see, the thing is, what it was is, all right, if the man on first, if he steals second, they're gonna walk the man at the plate. So now I took the bat out of the man at the plate hand, and he don't have a chance to hit a homer, which was stupid. It's stupid. Get him in scoring position and let's score some runs. The object of the game is to score more runs than the other team.
That's it.
Right. And do it the best way you can. The best way is finding players that can actually hit a freaking baseball. I absolutely hate players that bat 220 but get 40 home runs. I'd rather you give me a 280, 290 average
and 20 home runs. Right?
Yeah. That's first is more exciting for the fans because now my man he's on base at least 80% more times than the other dude, you know. So anyway, I digress on the baseball thing. It's just
go ahead. I'm listening.
No, I just said the way things have gone with and you know what's crazy is during a period of time in baseball history that people want to absolutely forget. That during the steroid era, the quote unquote steroid era, they want to forget that time happened all together.
Right.
Shout out to the baseball writers of America.
right. I'll tell you what else people want to forget that people seem to have forgotten. So I can get on one of my rants since we want to talk about racism. So this whole thing this year was the 30-year anniversary of my boy, hometown boy, even though I'm East St. Louis, y'all know I was born in Cincinnati.
Born in Cincinnati, we know.
King Griffey Jr. hitting a home run out of Camden Yards to hit the wall, right? Now, they was doing the whole tribute. Now, if you remember, he did not win the home run derby.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Gonzalez won.
Yeah.
He finished second. Gonzalez won. But they were all talking about, when Mike Trout, was talking, he was a young kid at the time, so he don't count. But all these people in the media talking about, the backwards hat, he came out with the backwards hat and then he did this and everybody was talking about how great it was. They dogged King Griffey Jr.
when he came out with the backwards hat.
They talked about how disrespectful he was being
to the game.
To the game. That's all that they talked about that whole time was about how disrespectful he was being. And now all of a sudden, he's the greatest. And the
celebrated.
Was just great. Mm-hmm. He was a culture icon because he wore his hat backwards. No, he didn't. Y'all talked about him like a dog when he came out there with his hat backwards. As a 20-year-old kid, let's see, we about the same age. So 21, 22-year-old kid came out there to play, and one of the best players to ever play the game. Mm-hmm. But don't act like y'all did not dog him and call him all kinds of names and talk about how disrespectful he was simply for wearing his hat backwards.
As if it is bad for the sport.
Right, talking about how bad it was for the sport and all this kind of stuff. Well, what kind of role model is he being to young children? Well, guess what? Mike Trout remembers that. And now he's one of the greatest players ever. I love Mike Trout. I love watching Mike Trout play.
If he can only just stay healthy, Mike Trout.
Well, just the last few years hasn't been healthy. But anyway, so I just want to remind people of that. don't let the media sit up here and talk about how great Ken Griffey was now, 30 years later, because back then they were not talking about how great he was. They talked about how disrespectful he was and how bad for the game he was. So I just want to get my rant out there for the day.
I'm starting to believe Dorian really don't like the Baseball Writers of America.
Yeah, I think I think he has a special place in his heart for them.
He don't think too
it ain't in my heart.
He don't think too finely of them baseball writers, man.
A special place on the bottom of his shoe.
They dog Griffey out, man, so bad, and now they want to act like it didn't happen. You know, we have this country. Well, we're gonna talk about politics, but this country does have an issue right now of trying to reverse history. But let's go.
It happens every year in January, and but I won't get into that.
We ain't gonna get into it.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
The other one.
Now, Dorian. So, this week it came out that let me go back. There are a lot of running backs that played last year that are still looking for jobs this year, and I'm talking very good running backs. One by choice and several not by choice. But you got Ezekiel Elliott, who, he may not have the same trade he had 4 or 5 years ago, but he still got some games left in him. You have Dalvin Cook, who has been great for Minnesota. Minnesota let him go on a financial issue, but he's still looking for a job. And then you have Saquon Barkley, who has a contract waiting for him, but it's a contract that he's really not willing to play for. He has a franchise tag. Say it again.
And now I was asking, I was like, it's the franchise tag, right?
Yeah, he has a franchise tag, which pays him a nice amount of guaranteed money for 1 year. But that's not what he wants. He's looking for the financial security over multiple years. But, for whatever reason, the Giants just don't want to give it to him and have no desire to give it to him. So they're basically trying to wait him out. So, Dorian, I know you got a daughter. You don't have a son. But if you had a son, that wanted to play football, would you allow your son to play running back?
Yeah, because I was a running back. My brother was a running back. And okay. they still gonna, if he can make it, it's still gonna be a multi-millionaire. They just won't be as much of a millionaire as the quarterbacks and the receivers and all that kind of stuff.
Every other position.
I think every other position except kicker and punter. I saw that today that the running back position has been devalued. The only players in football that make less than running backs are kickers and punters. Right.
And that's crazy.
That's crazy. But it shows you the change in the game. Mm-hmm. How, when we were coming up, that Emmitt Smith's record will never be broken. Mm-mm. Never at this particular point. Mm-mm. But I think that it shows how much the game has changed. In terms of now, it's about the receivers and quarterbacks. Because remember, quarterbacks didn't make that much. It was the running backs that were making all of the money. Mm-hmm. It was when we were younger, that's who was really making all the money. But then the game started to change. They started passing more. So it shows the state of the game. But it also shows, how they look at the position in terms of they feel like that position is expendable. That I don't have to pay somebody. I can just get a young dude to come in who can do the same thing, because I'm a run him forever, and then once his rookie deal is over, once these 5 years are over, well then I'm not gonna pay him. I can get another rookie to kind of do the same thing. That's how they feel. I think that the running back position could be a bigger asset, really, for me, right after wide receivers.
More than tight end?
Well, yeah, even more than tight end, because you can do more with a running back as far as offensively, in terms of you can have him in the backfield, then he can come out in motion, and then you got another receiver. if he's in the backfield, you don't necessarily know if he's going to get the ball RPO. It's just a lot of things that you can do with a running back. I think San Francisco has showed, kind of a lot of what the different things you can do with running backs, but they also go by that same premise of running back by committee. They're not trying to pay anybody either. But Kyle Shanahan shows the type of versatility that you can have with a running back with what he does with Deebo Samuels, right? So I think, and you can do that same thing with Saquon. You can do that same thing with Dalvin Cook. You could do that same thing with Josh Jacobs. You can't do that with every running back in the league. You can't do that with Ezekiel Elliott anymore, right? So I think that running backs are really getting a raw deal. I really do. And I think that also, too, that you pay your best players, no matter what position they play. You pay your best players. And it's a shame that Saquon Barkley is not getting paid on that Giants team. It's a shame.
He's the best player on offense. Best player
on that team. It's a shame that they paid Daniel Jones before they paid Saquon Barkley. And nobody has ever talked about Daniel Jones being one of the upper echelon quarterbacks in the league. Yet you paid him before you paid Saquon Barkley, simply because of how you value that particular position. But you can put Saquon up against any other running back in the league. Try to do that same comparison with Daniel Jones. So, yeah, I think that the really good running backs like Saquon, Josh Jacobs, I think that they're getting a raw deal.
So it takes me back to what we were talking about with baseball. The analytics of the position. If you have a great player, you keep that great player.
Yes.
You have to. I would rather have one great player than two mediocre players, because I know with that one great player, I'm gonna get done what I need to get done. When I put a mediocre player in there, I don't know what I'm gonna get. He might be good that day. He might be good that day. He might not. Just like in basketball, I would rather have an all-star in basketball than a seventh or eighth man off somebody's bench. Even though that seventh or eighth man is in the pros, he's an NBA player, but he's not that all-star. That all-star is an all-star because he gives it every night. You don't know what you're gonna get from those seventh and eighth players on the bench. Same thing with football. I would rather have Saquon Barkley, who I know is a guaranteed commodity, than to draft some running back from a college that may or may not. May be half as good as Saquon Barkley. Doesn't make sense to me. And going back to the pay thing, D knows I say this all the time. You can always find money to pay these players. You can always find money to pay these players. You just don't want to.
Right.
They just don't want to. And the reason they don't want to is because NFL is a copycat league. One team started doing it, and they figure, I don't need a superstar running back. I can get me just an average running back and pay him a whole lot less money. And that's what started happening. So now the great players, who should be compensated because they're great players, aren't getting paid.
Right.
The last person to get paid was McCaffrey. And no one has gotten the McCaffrey money. And McCaffrey got paid 3 years ago?
3 or going on 4 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, he got his money 3-4 years ago.
He got that 4 years, $64 million contract, and nobody has gotten.
They haven't even come close to that anymore. But now you got receivers making $25 million a year. You got DBs making $25 million. You got quarterbacks making $60 million a year. But you don't want to pay this running back $15. Like, come on, man.
Who would ever thought today where you see a defensive player getting paid more than a running back?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. I remember when Emmett was the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah.
Right.
So
remember when he had to hold out to do that?
Hold out to get that money. But he got it. He got it. And we won the championship with that. Shout out to Emmitt Smith.
That was terrible.
But yeah, so you have running backs.
Happen, dudes.
That was a terrible plug.
Dudes gave me a nice pass, man. That was a nice assist, dude. I appreciate it.
I gave him a backwards alley-oop on
I appreciate that.
On the wrong goal. on the wrong
I
back.
appreciate it. I did my Stuart Thompson. Y'all saw him do that dunk. We'll talk about that later. But not only the running backs, D, but you still have a big name free agent that has yet to decide where he's going to play.
D-Hop.
Say again?
D-Hop.
Yeah, D-Hop. DeAndre Hopkins still has not signed with a team. And I saw this week that Buffalo put out the statement that, we would love to have D-Hop at a discounted rate. Why D-Hop got to come in at a discounted rate? Pay the man. Now, it'd have been different if you said, hey, look, D, we only got $8 million left on the cap. But I tell you what, if you come and get this $8 million, we going to win a championship and you're going to get a much bigger contract next year. Then, okay, cool. You can do that. But to say, oh, we'll take you, but you got to come in at a cheap price. Nah, don't do it that way. Don't disrespect that man like that.
Disrespect him like that, right? Exactly. And disrespect him in the media, because then you make him look bad when if he comes to sign for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mess him up in the future for other teams who may want to sign him.
Worse is that you make him look bad if he don't sign with you. Now you say, well, he greedy, he chasing the money. Mm-hmm. He don't want to come try to get a championship. Like he's a greedy player, which is the same thing they're trying to say. We'll get to the NBA later. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. We want to talk about now. This is a huge. I want this show. This is a. All right, come on.
I'm clicking on it and you clicking on it.
I'm gonna need you to stop clicking. Stop clicking. I'm like, what is going on? Every time I click it and move, it disappeared. So a huge story this week came out of the NCAA football. And we actually have coaching news from NCAA football, NCAA basketball, and NCAA baseball.
Let's do basketball. Let's do basketball.
And then we'll talk about football and baseball.
Well, because they at the same school. Yeah,
they're at the same school. So this week, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Bob Huggins being retiring allegedly from University of West Virginia basketball program. But this week, Bob Huggins has sent a statement to University of West Virginia, letting them know that he was not the one that submitted this information saying that he was retiring. That he is not retiring.
He was retired.
He is not retiring. That he is still the coach of West Virginia, and he wants his money. So at the end of the day, he wants his money. Now, West Virginia has responded saying, "Hey, look, we got your statement. We accepted your statement. We're not paying you nothing." But Huggins and his attorneys are saying,
"Whoa! You can't touch my phone. Whoa! You can't touch my phone."
Don't touch my phone.
Don't touch my phone. You can't touch my phone.
Don't touch my phone. So Huggins is saying he didn't send the email saying that he retired, but the email came from his wife's email address. So his wife can't, according to him and his attorney, his wife can't retire for him. So since he didn't do it, he's still the coach.
So his wife retired.
His wife retired. His wife retired. Now she retired. And apparently West Virginia accepted her retirement paperwork,
right?
And not Bob Huggins.
What Coach Herm say? Don't press send.
Don't press send. Don't press send. So that's the going on with Bob Huggins. We're gonna keep a watch for that to see how this turns out.
Because he has a point.
He has a point.
He has a point. Legally, he's got a leg to stand on. So we'll see how it turns out.
It's just funny. Yeah, I didn't do it. My wife did it. It wasn't me.
Right. He like y'all got to. If I resign, somebody told him once he sobered up from sending that email. That's how he sent it from his wife's email, because he's probably drunk. And they told him, "What? Hey man, you resigned. They ain't gonna pay you." He said,
what?
What? I ain't gonna get paid. Wait a minute. They gonna have to fire me.
Give me my money. And that's all it is, man. At the end of the day, all he wants is his money. Right. Like I said, if I quit, I don't get nothing. But if you fire me, I'm gonna get all my money. So fire me and we can move on. Pay me and we'll just both walk away.
Right.
It's simple as that. Simple as that. But what's not simple is what's going on at Northwestern University.
Oh.
So at Northwestern, what was it, 2020? Was it 2020 that the allegations happened?
Was it 2020? I didn't know. Hold on.
Oh, it started in 2020. Whatever the case was, former Northwestern football players went to the university to let them know that they were sexually assaulted in the football department. And the things is some graphic stuff that allegedly occurred. Northwestern did their investigation, and initially they determined that Pat Fitzgerald, even though he said he didn't know anything about it, because he's the coach, that it was on his responsibility. So they suspended him for 2 weeks. Now the thing is, it was 2 weeks during the off season. He wasn't missing any games, wasn't missing any money. It didn't really count towards anything. And there was a big, huge fury about this suspension. And then it came out 3 days later.
That was a severe punishment.
Yeah. 3 days later, they went ahead and fired him completely. So Pat Fitzgerald didn't take that too lightly because they were firing him for cause. Now, for those that don't know the difference between a regular firing and a firing for cause, if I fire you just because I don't want you anymore, I still have to pay you.
Must be the money.
But if I fire you for cause, that means there was a reason why I fired you. You violated the terms of your contract. Now I don't have to pay you nothing.
I ain't got to pay you, right?
So that's where the problem comes in.
Ain't gonna be no money.
He was mad that he got let go because he felt that the stuff that happened, he didn't know about it. Had he known about it, he would have stopped it. Blah blah blah. Now that's a different debate thing because there was rumors. I have no proof, but there were rumors that these same types of things were happening during the time that Pat Fitzgerald was at Northwestern himself. Now, again, that was just the rumors that were put out there. Don't have proof, so we're not going to go through that. But at the end of the day, Fitzgerald said he didn't know anything about it. So he didn't feel like he should have been fired. But because they fired him, okay, cool. But then you're going to come back and say for cause? Oh, no, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept that. So, Doran, what's your take on this?
Okay. I can, from what I've read in terms of the hazing that was going on, it was crazy. When they talked about the whole thing about the car wash, whatever, where they be in the shower and then the guys had to go in the shower and turn around and all this kind of stuff in the water. It was like, I was like, okay, this is
naked.
Right. I was like, this is crazy. Right. That kind of stuff, and they had names for it, so they knew exactly what it was that was going on, right?
The other one, he said the other one, the thing that they were talking about was the quarterback center exchange.
Oh yeah, but they made them do it naked.
Yeah. So the quarterback has to stand between the legs of this big, huge offensive lineman.
Put his hands down there naked. Naked.
Like, come on, man. But go ahead, D. I'm sorry. That was funny to me.
That's nasty.
It's crazy, right? And nasty, right? Hopefully they did it after the shower.
Exactly. Do it after the car wash.
Right after the car wash, right? But so all of that stuff is crazy enough in itself, and I can understand why it is that he would be fired for something like that. My issue still comes, and I still feel the same way about Joe Paterno, is they also came out and said that there was no credible evidence, that they could find no credible evidence that Pat Fitzgerald knew what was going on. Now, I understand Rodney's point saying that that these were things that were going on when Pat Fitzgerald was happening when Pat Fitzgerald was a player. So it's kind of like this tradition that kind of goes down the line or whatever, that kind of thing. One thing I'll have to do, and I know I'll have to do it privately, I'll have to ask my nephew Tyron. Shout out to my nephew Tyron. But his best friend Drew actually played football at Northwestern. So I'll have to ask Drew about it, privately, and I'll tell y'all about it. I don't want to put it out there on the air or whatever. But anyway, I'll ask him about it. Still, but point being is that if you can't find any credible evidence that he knew, then I don't see why you would fire him. Again, people start talking about, well, he should have known. He the head coach. Why should he have known? They hide it from him. It's not like they're doing it out in the open. Even as a parent, as I will be, y'all's children are much older than mine, right? But I know as a parent, there are going to be some things that Sadie is going to do that I'm never going to find out about it, that I'm not going to know. We can still talk about when we grew up, all of the stuff that we did that Bob and Terry Lynn and Barbara Jean don't know about, right? You know what I'm saying?
And they will never know about.
And we'll never tell them about, because we're not going to talk about it here on the air. But at the same time, it's like, how can we hold him accountable for something that you're saying he knew nothing about? You can't find any evidence that he knew anything about it. So for me, I think if you've already had somebody that's been there, 27 years? If you want to fire him because y'all suck, fire him because you suck. Because it's Northwestern football, you've been sucking for a long time. Fire him for that reason. And say that that's why you're firing him. Don't use this as a way to fire him to bring somebody else in there. Because again, if he knew, he knew. But you can't find any evidence that he knew. And that's my same thing going way back. I said the same thing about Joe Paterno. Is everybody said the old man didn't know. But yet y'all fired him anyway, just because he's the head coach and he should have known. That makes no sense. So that's my only issue with it. Yes, it's egregious. Yes, somebody needs to be held accountable. But if you're saying that he didn't know, and you know he didn't know, then I don't really see how you can fire him. And people can come with that argument about he the head coach and what the head coach should have known. And yeah. But you really can't prove that he did. So again, that's just me. I know y'all gonna disagree.
No,
I got that military mentality,
right?
Right. If you're the leader, it falls under your watch.
And that was my point, dude.
Yeah, you have to take responsibility.
Okay, let me ask you this though. Now, that responsibility that you have to take, what is that responsibility that you take as the leader? Do they kick you out of the Army?
No, they'll you'll probably be relieved of your command. But
so
they didn't kick you totally out, but I'm saying you'll lose that position.
Yeah, so. They didn't kick him out of coaching. They just relieved him of his coaching position at the Northwestern University or University of Northwestern, whatever they call it. But so and that was my point, dudes. I the fact that they came out and said that they couldn't find any credible evidence that he knew about this. That is one reason why he should not have lost his money. They should have not tried to fire him for cause. That's the only issue I have with this, is them trying to fire him for cause, not pay him his money. And that's just Northwestern's cheap way of not trying to pay this man. And You're right, D. The last 2 years, they have sucked. I mean, absolutely sucked. He should have been fired.
They've gone back to 90s and 80s Northwestern. Yeah. He
should have been fired for the sucking part. However, they kept him on because he's been there for so long. And shut up, dude.
He's an alum.
He's been there so long. He's an alum of the school. And stop it, dude. He's been there so long. He is an alum from the school. And it is Northwestern. So it's not like Northwestern has a whole lot of coaches that's just beating down their door trying to be the head coach of Northwestern. So they kept him on. But when these facts came out, like you said, D, and when I agree with that, someone has to be held accountable. And because he is the head person of this football team, he's the one that has to be held accountable. So I don't have a problem with them firing him. I just have a problem with them trying to fire him and not pay him. That's the part I have the biggest problem with.
Yeah, it's still hard for me, and I see what y'all are saying. I really do. Even from the military, standpoint, I see what you're saying. And your analogy with they didn't kick him, didn't kick him out of coaching just from being head at Northwestern. I see what you're saying, but still, it still bothers me when you know that somebody didn't know, because this is the thing. As a leader, how can I do something about something I don't know about? If I know it now, it's different if I know about it and didn't do anything about it. But if I don't know about it, I can't be the leader and do something about it and change the culture because I don't know. It's not like, and I made the analogy when me and Rodney were talking about it the other day. It's not like Colonel Jessup, who ordered the code red.
Did you order the code red?
Fitzgerald didn't order the code red. He didn't even know this kind of stuff was going on. They have no evidence that it was going on. So that's why you're firing somebody for something that they never got a chance to do anything about. Because if he had found out, well, then I get rid of those players. I get rid of coaches who were responsible, who were taking part in it, or who knew about it, or whatever not. I get the opportunity to do something about it, to show why you hired me to be the leader of this team in the first place. But if you're firing me for something that I didn't know about, that's what I have the issue with.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I never said I liked it now, because I had to stand before the general because one of my soldiers got a DUI, and I had to account for why he had a DUI. Did I give him a safety briefing? And yes, I gave him a safety briefing, just like when you came down and you gave him a safety briefing, gave everybody a safety briefing. Then I gave him one right after that. And then that Friday night, he went and got drunk.
Right.
And got DUI. So.
Right.
But
it wasn't my fault. I don't drink.
The reason why, to me, it was all about the money. They were just trying to get rid of him is because they didn't fire any of the assistant coaches. So how do you expect the head coach to know about it and the assistant coaches not to know about it? And they're the ones that's closest to the players in the first place.
Yep. Much closer to the players.
So that was the reason why I say, they just try to fire him because they didn't want to pay him.
Right.
They don't want to pay him no more. They want to get somebody else. Now, who they going to get? Who knows? Who's going to accept that position? Who knows?
Well, it certainly won't be the baseball coach.
It ain't going to be the baseball coach because guess what?
He got fired too.
He got fired too.
What's the you gotta hit the button, dude.
Hold on, I got fired. Hold on. Wait a minute, where is it?
Oh, D, you don't know what it is?
I can find it. Come on. There we go. Man, I had to switch the page.
There you go.
So the Northwestern baseball coach today was relieved of his position also. But the reason that he got relieved of his position is because his players were bullying other players. So now because, Northwestern has a spotlight on them, they trying to get rid of everybody. So Northwestern is in shambles. They've, went ahead and, take full control of that number 14 spot in the Big Ten. Yes, there are 14 teams in the Big Ten. But so he won't be doing much either, D. He won't be doing no much either. All right, something a better subject. We have the WNBA All-Star Game.
Woo!
Go ahead, D.
No, I was just gonna say that it's not what they haven't played yet. It's not much.
No.
The
voting. The voting came out.
The voting. They took a page out of the NBA's book, and so they had the who was it? It was Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart.
Were the captains, and so they were able to, to pick the teams. So it's just going to be interesting to see, how this game is now going to work. In terms of just, hopefully Elena Deladon will be able to play. She got injured again. She hurt her ankle again.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And she didn't even step on anybody's ankle. She rolled it doing something else. So hopefully she'll be able to play. But I'm always interested in watching the All-Star games. I love watching Arike Ngubawale play. Oh man, she be balling. I like watching Jewel Lloyd play as well. But she got hurt too. She messed her ankle up, and Brianna Stewart is just a baller. I don't even like to call her Stewie. You know what I mean? Right. But Brianna Stewart is a baller, and who else I love watching Sabrina Ionescu play. Oh man, she is all that in a bag of snacks. I mean, she dishes, she scores, she does it all. So it's always nice to see the best players play against the best players. So I will definitely be watching the game to see how it turns out.
As long as they compete, unlike the NBA,
unlike the NBA
All-Star game.
But hey, for real, for those of you that have not watched a WNBA game, it is very, very exciting. The WNBA doesn't get nearly the amount of pub that it should. The games are good. If you like basketball, if you're a true basketball fan, you will enjoy the WNBA. Just like, the women's NCAA tournament. It's just an exciting brand of basketball. Yeah, you're not going to get the high flying dunks and, all of that stuff. However, you'll get good fundamental basketball. And Brianna Stewart is a baller, D. She has been doing her thing for the Liberty. I'm looking at the standings here.
Her and Ionescu. It's because of her and Sabrina Ionescu that they've
been balling. They have been balling.
Although it's the Aces that are really doing.
The Aces are 19-2 right now. In first place, they're undefeated at home, 8-2 on the road. The Liberty are 14-4. They're balling also. 7-2 at home and 7-2 on the road. So those two teams have been doing the thing, along with the Connecticut Sun. They've been balling also. Got to give them a shout out also. But it's going to be exciting. They're going to, they have the skills challenge. They have the 3-point shootout in the WNBA All-Star game. So to all of our fans, tune in. Watch the WNBA All-Star game. You really enjoy it.
And I always find it interesting how people talk about the WNBA and how, unathletic or whatever the games are. Ain't no dunking and so on and so forth. Well, what none of y'all dunking either when you was playing basketball.
Exactly.
So why is it that you got to have some dunking and high flying in the game that you watching when it was never in the game that you were playing? And you still wanted to play, and you still went out there and played hard and so on and so forth, even though there was no dunking going on. So I find it interesting when people try to talk about the WNBA like that. If you like you said, Rod, if you like basketball, then watch the WNBA. It's just as good.
It's just as good. But for those that want the high flying dunks, we do have the NBA Summer League going on right now. Doran,
wait, you just turned it
off.
Hurt
you, man.
I put it on.
Buttons, man.
Turn it off.
Okay, well, fine. You just work the board. I won't touch it no more.
Get your hands off. Get your hands off.
All right, fine.
Y'all see my scrolling thing? Doran keep messing it up. Anyway, we got the NBA Summer League going on right now. We have Summer League is usually rookies. You have your undrafted rookie free agents. You have first, second, and sometimes third year players playing in the Summer League. It gives the players a chance to not only showcase themselves to their current team, but also to other teams that may be looking to fill spots on their bench. So it gives the players an opportunity to showcase themselves. So there is a point to having the NBA Summer League. But for the most part, most people are tuning in so they can see the rookies that just got drafted 2 weeks ago, see how they perform with their new teams. And one of the rookies, the number one rookie this year, Victor Wembanyama, had a roller coaster of a couple of days on social media. And Dorian absolutely hates how they did him. Dorian, tell the people what happened to Victor.
Poor Victor.
Feel about these folks. Social media, and we're gonna have another thing about social media a little bit later. We might need to talk about it right after this.
Yeah.
But social media. So first game, he had didn't play necessarily very well. He had the whole thing that had just happened, you know, the Britney Spears thing and all this kind of stuff. First ever NBA game, 17,000 people in there just to see him. He was 2 for 13 from the field or something, had like 9 points. He was missing 3-point shots, had 4 or 5 blocks though. But offensively, he just wasn't necessarily there. And people dogged him. They started calling him a bust. The one guy that that always is on social media hollering and fussing about the Lakers, you know, was just talking about how horrible he was and he bad. Wembanyama, and then the next game he comes back and had a double-double.
27
and 12.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, so then I started searching TikTok trying to see what dude had to say today. I ain't heard nothing from him. So it's just like, he's 19. Let him develop. It's not even a real NBA game. It's a summer game. And just to show you all of that, now he's not even playing for the rest of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So what they gonna say about him now?
So the thing is, the only reason the Spurs let him play in the first place is because of all the hype that he received when he got drafted. And the NBA probably begged them to please just let him play 2 games. Let him come and just show his face. But yeah, the people get overzealous about these things, man. Just like we talked about last week at a shoot around in street clothes. You know, he was missing some shots and people talking about he's a bust. Come on, man. Let the man play. And the second game that he played, well, let's go back. The first game he played, he even admitted that he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the speed of the game. He was full of nerves because, you know, he'd been over here on a whirlwind tour for 2 weeks since he got drafted. He wasn't ready to play. But you saw what he did in the second game. He came out and that brother balled.
Right.
And you saw all the talent that he had in that second game. He was hitting threes. He was bringing the ball up the court, blocking shots left and right, grabbing rebounds, doing all the things that he was doing in Europe. The reason why he got drafted in the first place. So leave the brother alone. He gonna be all right. Pookie,
what you say? What say you dudes?
I got a lot to say. Okay, first of all, I mean, like you said, he wasn't really prepared for that first game. And you have to understand, you know, what the NBA Summer League is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dorian said, you know, everybody's trying to display their talent. You know, their talent on display.
Right.
It's how do I want to put this? In my opinion, it's like an individual thing. So everybody's trying to show their individual talent. So, I mean, just watching them as I've been watching it over the years, everybody's out there gunning, trying to show that they can shoot. Everybody's bringing the ball up the court, trying to show that they got handled. So it's not like a team thing. So it's not a concentrated effort to like really get him the ball or whatever.
They don't run plays.
Yeah, they don't run plays. So
do they practice?
They don't practice.
Not really.
They did have. It was 3 days of practice before the summer league started.
But you have to understand, like I said, they don't run plays. So now think about Wembanyama. He's never played in a situation like that. You know, he's from a situation where they play organized ball or whatever. Now he's out there with everybody's gunning, everybody's the point guard, everybody's the 2 guard, nobody's a center, including you know, he's not the center. So, you know, it was an adjustment period. And then he did make the adjustment second game, you know, to kind of fit into what was going on. So that's what that was all about. You have the Scoot Henderson situation, you know, we were all like hyped to see him play, and he proved to be very skilled, but then he did get hurt. So, you know, that was kind of crazy. And then Miller was up and down. for Charlotte.
Right.
They shut him down today too.
Yeah, he seems to finally have, gotten this together. But yeah, and then that's another thing, we can talk about. It's like, pretty much they got load management in the summer league for 19-year-olds.
He said load management in the summer league.
I mean, but truly, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Why isn't Wembyana playing or Miller or those guys? They shut Chet down too, right? That's what I was really eager to see play.
Chet been balling.
Yeah, Chet's been balling too. But I always knew he could play though. But like I said, it's like load management for kids.
Right.
I mean, think about it. We played all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got these, young guys. Well, we don't want to play them because we don't want them to get hurt. Well, they are basketball players. They're paid to play basketball. So, I mean,
but the thing is,
if they're that fragile, then
the thing is, you don't want them to play in the summer league, but they're gonna be playing pickup games next week.
Yeah,
so let them play in the summer league. At least it's NBA sanctioned. Let them do that.
Right.
But
and they got insurance.
Exactly. One observation I did make with Wembanyama is I think that based on his skill set and what he does, because he sticks around the perimeter a lot.
Ooh, an awful lot.
He sticks around the perimeter a lot. San Antonio will do good to get a big bruising center that can go into the paint for these first year or so until he can get his strength together and go down to because he'll be a 5, but right now I think they're gonna have to play him at the 4.
Who he kind of remind me of? This was kind of crazy, but one of your old guys, Porzingis, like a real big, tall center. I mean, big guy.
He's Porzingis with handles.
Totally around the perimeter.
That differentiates him. He has handles.
And can defend on the perimeter.
Yeah.
I think he defends on the perimeter. I thought watching him play against Brandon Miller was very telling.
Oh yeah, his overall skill set I think could be better than Porzingis. I think Porzingis is a better outside shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just the way he, like you said, he hangs around the perimeter. That's the first thing I thought of. He moves like Ralph Sampson. But
but yeah, I think they do. I think they do better by keeping him at the 4 and getting the big bruises like a JaVale McGee to go in there and bang the fellas.
Because somebody's gonna have to rebound.
Somebody got.
Now you sound like Charles Barkley.
Yeah,
go in there and bang the fellas. And when you're in there and you banging them and you.
Yeah, and Brian for sucking.
Hello, D. Speaking of banging,
we are about to talk about Zion.
What's up with your boys down in Houston, man? What's up with your boys down in Houston, D?
The Banger Boys.
All I'm gonna say is this. Everybody, I saw Kwame Brown's comments about it and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just gonna say that cats play in different ways.
They was playing.
And,
they look very playful,
right? And so, all I can say is that that's among their friend group. And if that's acceptable among their friend group, then hey, what can I say about it? That's certainly never been acceptable among our friend group. But when I say that guys play in different ways, I take it. I look at it this way. I remember when we played baseball in high school, and one of the things that we used to do, that was a team thing that we used to do all the time with each other, is we would walk around and we would still on each other. Like if you were sitting there on the bench and then you didn't see somebody coming, wham, you get stolen on during the game, on the bus, all kinds of stuff. And people would be like, man, y'all ain't gonna hit me like that. Ain't nobody gonna be hitting me like that. But that was just something that we did among the baseball team, and other people didn't do it, but we did. So if that's how they play, then that's on them. I just know that that's not the way that we play.
Hey, we used to do that when we were in class. The teacher asked you to read a paragraph, and you be back there reading, and she's looking at her book, following.
Right.
She's still on you while you're reading.
Right.
So
remember your book on the floor.
remember when Johnny and them used to be, because we started doing it too, but remember when him and Michael DeBruce and all of them used to run around chopping each other all the time? Oh, yeah. Like wrestling, chopping each other in the throat and all that kind of stuff. And we was like, man, so that's all I can say about that. It looked crazy, don't get me wrong, but hey,
that was a lot different than stealing on each other.
So hold on. A lot different. We do have to step back just for 1 second, because we just started talking about our reaction to it, but we didn't tell the people what actually happened. So we're not going to show you what happened.
I guess, do we have to?
I'm not going to show you what happened, but if you want to see, just type Jalen Green and what's his name? Josh Christopher. That's all you got to do. Type Jalen Green and Josh Christopher, and it'll come up and show you. There was
Did I spell his name right? Hypocrisy?
I don't think so, but I think it's just Jalen, but it's close enough.
Like Jalen Rose, okay.
Oh yeah, don't pull it up at work.
Don't pull it up at work.
It's definitely NSFW.
And keep the sound off. So
and hide the women and children.
But it's a playful moment, quote, between actually former teammates now.
Happy playful moment.
That and it's actually, make sure you look at the whole video, because you'll see one that's like maybe 6-7 seconds long. Nah, you gotta see the whole thing. It went crazy. But anyway, it's some playful moments between teammates. Let's just say that. It's not normal play. It's really not.
It's normal for them.
It might be normal for them. But
so what do you think would be the after effects?
It's already done. They didn't trade. Houston traded the one that was getting pluked to where he go? I think they traded him to I think they traded him to San Antonio somewhere. They exiled him.
They traded the one that won.
They traded the Pluking, not the Pluker. So, anyway, y'all got issues, man. Y'all got issues. Issues up in here. Issues up in here. All right.
But one thing. Well, never mind.
Was that one of my? I almost said something about a tailgate party, but
oh no! Come on, dudes. Y'all try to get us. We gonna get censored, man. We gonna get censored. All y'all these jokes. So okay. That's enough talk about Jalen Green.
Yeah. Let's get away from.
We gonna call him Pluking. Hey, Pluking. Pluking had a good duck today.
Oh man, my son.
Man. Let's get, man. Hey man, calm down. Let's talk about. We got a couple more subjects to talk about. Come on, D.
Let's get it.
Get your face straight, man. Get your face straight.
Ooh, that was a rough one.
I can't. That's a tumor.
D player hurt today. All right. Let's get back to the next subject. The next subject is NBA trade rumors, and the biggest two that are still out there. James Harden, who will not be a New York Knick, had a meeting with the GM for Philadelphia, and reiterated his desire to be traded, which is one thing. The second thing is nobody's really jumping the trade for James Harden, and the question is, what's wrong with James Harden, other than the fact that he can't be a Knick?
And what was that line from Life when they asked what was wrong with the guy, and he said,
"Can't get right."
Yeah, I don't know, boss. He can't get right.
He can't get right.
Something wrong with his head, boss. That's what he said. Something wrong with his head, boss. He can't get right.
Get right.
Yeah,
all I can say is we will never refer to Harden as Big Game James.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
he will never have that moniker.
And I mean, it was something. It was one thing for him not to be able to perform in big moments. You know, I never really liked that. But when he left Houston, when he became fat, allowed himself to become fat, he fatted himself out of Houston, if that's a word.
Right.
He fatted his way out. I lost a lot of respect for James Harden then. You know, he's a great scorer, superior scorer, but you know, I think, you know, he lacks the effort, and then I think he quits on teams. And
yeah, so he quit on Houston. He quit on New Jersey or Brooklyn, whatever they are right now.
Yeah.
And even in Philly,
every team he was on, he quit.
Even in Philly, he's quit on Philly because at the end of the day. So here's the thing.
There's no other way to explain that about Philly. He quit on them.
And the reason why I have zero cares for James Harden is the fact that he had an opportunity to renounce his contract and become a free agent and decide where he wanted to go. But no, James Harden gonna always go with the money. Mm-hmm. He was not gonna give up that money no matter what. So my thing is, if you opt into your contract, you under contract with me for this next year.
Right.
So if I don't want to trade you, I ain't gonna trade you.
Right.
And that's the
end of the story. It should have been.
So here's my issue. All right. All the players, this is the one thing I don't agree with these players with what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They want to sign these big, huge maximum deal contracts, but then as soon as they sign it, they start complaining, you got to get me out of here. I want to go to such and such team.
Yeah.
Well, you just signed that contract. If you want to get traded, I don't mind trading you, but I don't think you should trade your contract.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that was the same thing to me with when Bradley Beal signed that big deal with Washington. Was that last year? I think it was.
Last year, yep.
Yeah.
Was it last? I thought it was the year before. I thought he played under that contract in Washington for 1 year because I thought they were trying to trade him.
Yeah, it was the year before.
But they never did. So he actually did.
He got a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
He got a 5-year contract.
But anyway, it was like he was doing it, and we all knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we knew he was going to, once he got the contract, he was going to try to, you know, weasel his way up out of Washington.
Right.
But he was going to get that money. And so, like Randy said, I don't believe they should be able to do
it. Because if you sign your contract, again, what's the point of having a contract? Really?
Yeah, it's a contract. Yeah.
What is really the point of having a contract if you can come to me and say, hey, get me out of here? And then in the case of Dame Lillard, who is one of my favorite basketball players, I'm really the way this situation, the Dame Lillard situation is going, I'm really a little disappointed. And mainly because, you know, if you want to leave, his reasoning for wanting to leave Portland is I want to go win a championship. Okay. Then let me trade you to one of these teams that gives me the best option, the best offer that has a potential of winning a championship. Don't tell me I want to win a championship, but I only want to do it in this one city. This is the only place I want to trade.
Miami.
Yeah, I want to go to Miami. Yeah. You know,
they don't have
now
anything.
Again. If Miami was willing to give me the package that I wanted, cool. I ain't got no problem. I'll trade you there. But they're not willing to do that because at the end of the day, Miami has the one of the best front offices in basketball, and they're not going to do anything stupid or that's not benefiting Miami. So why would if he's demanding a trade and he's demanding a trade here, why would I give you all of my assets? I'm not gonna give you 4 first-round draft picks. Pat Riley ain't stupid. He know. He said, I'll give you 2, but that's all you getting.
Right.
I
agree. I think it's both ways, but go ahead.
But yeah, so but no, I don't like the way that the Dame Lillard thing is going. Dame could have asked for this trade just like Bradley Beal 2 years ago. But Dame wanted to sign that max contract, that super max contract. I'm sorry, I'm disrespecting him. he signed a supermax contract, which will pay him the last year of his contract $65 million. Right? He's not going to leave that money on the table.
No.
My thing is that, and if they want to eliminate this player signing these contracts, then demanding the trade, they say, okay, cool. If I trade you, you don't trade your contract. You got to re-sign a whole new contract or something. There has to be some kind of deterrent for this because it's happening way too much. And again, it's kind of a catch-22 because the teams can trade you anytime they want to whoever they want to. So, I mean, I understand the player. So there has to be some kind of middle ground with this thing because it's just getting too out of hand.
See, I think that one of the things that has happened is that the superstar players have gotten this power because this is only happening with the superstar players. This is not happening with the mid-level exception players. It's not happening with the other bench players where they sign a contract and then demand a trade. This is only something that's happening with the supermax players and so on and so forth. Where I disagree with you is about the Dame situation is that when you say he could have asked for a trade, 2 or 3 years ago, whatever, that's correct. But at the same time, he was also under the impression when he signed the deal that Portland was going to do something to help them win a championship because he said he wanted to win a championship in Portland. So he signed and he stayed. They didn't do that. If we really think that the Jeremy Grant signing was going to keep him there, we crazy. They hadn't really done anything else for Dame to get him a winning team.
Yeah. And they had Jeremy Grant last year.
Right, exactly. Since he signed that contract. So for me, if now he wants out, I don't have a problem with that. I also don't necessarily have a problem with him wanting to go to Miami. At the same time, I don't have a problem with the teams trying to make sure that it benefits them. I think that because Dame stayed, that you should try to accommodate him. I think you have an obligation to try to accommodate him, to send him where he wants to go. But in the end, you still have to do what's best for your team in the end. And if I can't benefit from trading you here, but I can benefit from trading you here to another team that's a contender. It might not be where you want to go, but this team is going to reciprocate. It gives you your opportunity to win, and it gives us an opportunity to get better in the future. Hey, thank you for all you've done for these years that you've been here. You played your heart out. You played your ass off. Thank you. We appreciate it. So we're going to try to accommodate you by sending you to a contender. We just can't send you to the one that you want to go to. For me, that's what it's like for me. Like I said, the only thing I disagree about is the idea that, he could have left earlier, but I think he was staying really thinking that they were really going to do something at some point to try to win a championship in Portland. And they were not. And they really showed once they drafted Scoot that they weren't trying to do anything that was going to bring players around him, around Dame, so that they could win a championship. And I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, right? But
I definitely
right.
Yeah, I definitely think that Dame was being loyal.
Yeah, sure.
As opposed to the Bill situation, like I said, and I called that when it happened. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna get that contract and he's up out of there. He's gonna get that max deal and he's up out of there. But Dame, I think he's a different he's a different scenario altogether. I believe he definitely was being loyal to the organization. So hopefully, like you said, they can reciprocate and get him to a contender, and hopefully he'll accept going to Boston and just,
I think my
and then Harden will just go to the Knicks.
No, Harden ain't coming to the Knicks. I think my biggest issue is not so much with Dame. I think it's more with his agent, because I don't think Dame is the one that's putting this information out. His agent is the one that's saying, telling other teams, don't trade for him because he's not going to report, and you don't want a disgruntled player on your team, this, that, and the other. I don't think that's the type of person. Well, I don't want to believe that that's the type of person that Dame is right now, right? Because he's given everything he had to the team that he was on in Portland. I don't think he'll do anything less than that if he goes to New York to play for the Knicks. But now he might do that.
I'm like Dame. I want to go to Miami.
They might do that if they send him to Utah. He don't want to go to Utah. Utah's not the contender that he wants to go to, even though Utah was
it Jennifer Holiday song? No way, I'm not going.
I'm not going.
No way. But yeah, truthfully, seriously though, Miami would be a great place for him to go because again, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Bam Adebayo there, so you have 3 really good players with a lot of good role players.
Be naked.
And you but you got the arguably the best coach in the NBA in Spoelstra on the bench. Mm-hmm. The only real players that they're getting rid of is Kyle Lowry. Well, the last proposed trade I've seen is Kyle Lowry and your boy, what's his name?
Robinson Hero.
Tyler Hero. Yeah, but Tyler Hero is going to a third team in order to get more draft picks to send to Portland. I think, matter of fact, what I was reading earlier is that they had Miami has 4 committed first round picks that they're trying to package together. Mm-hmm. Now, Portland was still holding out for a 5th one. Now that's now you're being greedy. If you're trying to get 5 first round picks, now you're being greedy. Take the 4. You're gonna get Kyle Lowry, who's an expiring contract. They'll probably release him anyway. Just to allow him to, go to another team, a contending team or what have you. But you get your 4 first-round draft picks. You get your cap relief, but the Kyle Lowry's contract, you can go ahead and start your rebuild. The problem with Portland is that Portland's front office is not the smartest front office in the NBA. Because, like you said, D, they should have known by drafting Scoot Henderson that Dame was going to ask for a trade. They should have known that.
Right.
Now, why you go out and give Jeremy Grant a $35 million a year contract for 5 years?
I didn't understand that one.
That's just beyond me. That's just crazy.
And like I said, you had him last year, so you
had him last year.
You know exactly what he brought to the table. He's a decent player. Don't get me wrong, but
he's a good player.
He's not going to move the needle.
If you rebuilding, you don't need a $35 million player. Not like him.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's not going to move the needle
for 5 years. So yeah, they jumped the gun. They didn't do their due diligence, or they may have thought that Dame was bluffing, and Dame finally said, "Hey, no, I want out. I want out." Right. Any other NBA news? I think that's all the NBA trade news we got.
Trade news.
I was going to ask you, did y'all see our boy Marquise Noel?
Oh, Marquise! Oh man, Summer League. Let's go back to Summer League. Marquise Noel, D's favorite player under 6 foot.
And I've been pulling for him too. I was pulling for him.
D's favorite. Oh, what's the team? I forgot what team. Oh, was it Toronto?
Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah, he played for Toronto.
I've been watching all their games.
The greatest shot in the history of the NBA Summer League that didn't go in. He thought it was Steph Curry. Shot the 3, turned around, ran down the court, hit nothing but backboard.
The other side of the backboard.
The other side of the backboard. Nothing but backboard. We root for you, Noel.
But you can't shoot no more of them.
You can't shoot that button. Hit that button, D. We can't find it. You slow.
Nah, that ain't it. Hold on.
Turn the lights off.
Oh yeah, my little light.
Oh, you gotta turn it off, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to turn it off? You don't want to turn it off?
That was for me with the lights going off and getting dark.
So
yeah, so hopefully he'll get better because you know I'm rooting for him. I'm always rooting for the little guy.
I'll put you like this, bro.
His first game was good.
He can't get much worse than that shot.
Yeah.
You can't get much worse than that shot. But
that was almost as bad as the S shot from Mr. Banks.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Banks,
Mr. Banks,
the greatest basketball court
commentator,
overseer ever.
The sideline commentator.
Right.
Yeah, everybody a nickname.
You go this way, I'm going that way.
You go this way, I go that way.
Hey, you wasn't a real basketball player unless Mr. Banks gave you a nickname.
Right. If you ain't playing with Mr. Banks' house, right. Just see who can get to the stump first. But anyway.
Off the stump. Hold on. Me, D, and Brian, we still the all-time
undefeated team.
All-time winningest team.
In the history of 81st Street basketball. And
That's right. That's right. We got the trophy.
The stars aligned wrong or something that day. I don't know what was going on.
It's called undefeated. All right. One more thing in the NBA came out this week. Actually, two more things. The first thing, rule changes. Now coaches are allowed a second challenge if they win their first challenge. So that's a huge thing because a lot of times, the coaches were holding that challenge until the end of games because you only had one. Now you have the ability to have, if your challenge is going to be, you're going to win your challenge. Now you have the ability to get that second challenge, which is going to be huge.
Successful.
Yeah, which is going to be
great. That's a great rule. I always thought it should have been that way in the first place.
Exactly, it should have been that way. Anyway. I mean, it's not going to matter for my Knicks because Tom Thibodeau will never use a challenge. I guess he thinks they extra money or something. He get to save them up and put more money in his pocket.
But the Knicks games won't be close enough to even worry about a challenge.
Worry about it.
Oh no, we're gonna need that when we make it to the finals.
When Harden gets there.
Harden ain't coming to my team.
And Ben Simmons.
Hold up. They wanted to put Ben Simmons in the trade for Dame Lillard. And Portland laughed. Like, come on, man. We don't want no Ben Simmons.
Well, I could only guess who offered that trade.
Give me Ben Simmons. You gotta give me Ben Simmons and 15 first-round draft picks.
Right.
But anyway, back to the NBA rule changes. So the coaches have an additional challenge if they win their first challenge. Now, one thing that is kind of different is that for the first challenge, the coaches have to call a timeout. If they win, they get the timeout back. The second challenge, you still have to call a timeout, but you don't get that timeout back whether you win or lose. So that is a little wrinkle to that rule. But the fact that you can get that second challenge is still far outweighs the fact that you might lose a timeout.
Right.
For a good coach, unlike Tom Thibodeau. The other rule change is the LeBron rule. That's what we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it the LeBron rule.
The Actors Guild.
The LeBron Screen Actors Guild Award.
Yes, the SAG.
It's for flopping. So now, what's going to happen is the referees are not going to call a timeout. They're going to they're not going to stop play. They're going to let the play continue. But at the conclusion of the play, when the clock stops, they have the ability to go review the play to see if a player flopped. And if it's deemed that he did flop, then he'll be charged a technical foul. So the opposing team would get to shoot a technical foul and get the ball. Now, sounds like nothing. However, you still have the same rules. It's like a $20,000 penalty for every technical foul. So you can lose quite a bit of money flopping.
Right. So and then your technical fouls build up.
And they build up. And they build up. So I foresee this flopping phenomenon to go by the wayside because ain't nobody gonna lose no $20,000 every time they flop. Marcus Smart like his money. He ain't gonna do that no more. Down in Memphis, dudes. My bad. I forgot he ain't your team no more.
I could take him leaving. We need to make some changes. We can shake it up. I don't mind it.
And then the other thing that is even as interesting was the announcement of the NBA in-season tournament.
I don't get this one.
Me neither.
No.
I've read it through and through and watched the show, and I still didn't understand it.
First of all, the show was terrible.
Oh, that was horrible. That was
awful.
But that was the ESPN thing.
It was awful. That
was the ESPN thing.
That was so. First of all, you used the Jabberwockies. Now, again, the Jabberwockies, dope, but they've been around for a long time. Remember that Shaq, the last time he played in the All-Star game,
he was dancing
with the Jabberwockies. So you done went back 20 years to go grab the Jabberwockies, and then you got Malika Andrews and RJ out there dancing with the Jabberwockies to get the ticket. I was like, okay, stop. And then you brought these other players, like they brought Cade Cunningham out there, and you got on a t-shirt. He got on a t-shirt and some blue jean shorts, and it's like, okay, come on, y'all. Y'all could have figured out some totally different way to introduce this in-season tournament other than this little whack show that y'all tried to put on. The show was awful. It made me not want to watch an in-season tournament just because the show was so bad. But we can get to the tournament now. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
Oh, that's hey, bro, you vented for the rest of us because the show it was trash, man.
They could at least put Miles Turner on there with that outfit that he was sitting on the bench with. As the host of the show.
Oh Lord.
With his pink handkerchief around his neck.
I said he looked like a strict auntie.
That was ugly. That was ugly. So, wow. Hey man, y'all know what time it is. The in-season tournament. So, what they did was they took the first three seeds. The first three seeds in all the divisions, mixed them up, and then put them in different baskets. Then they took the 4 through 6 seeds in all division, put them in a basket, and mixed them up. And they took the remaining seeds, put them in a basket, mixed them up, and that's how they came out with their divisions.
They should have put it in a trash basket, is what they should have put it in.
Yep.
And instead of mixing it up, take it out.
There's 5 different groups. There's 5 different groups with I'm sorry. There's 6 different groups with 5 teams in each group. And the way it's going to work, each team is going to play the other team one time in the tournament. So that's 4 games, and they're regular season games in November. And then the winners, you have the 6 winners, and then two extra like wild card teams. You take those 8, they play 2 more games, and you get to your semifinals. Now, what happens is the teams that get to the semifinals, those are the ones that actually get the incentives. The other games are just regular season games. It doesn't matter. I mean, it counts towards the record, but you're not doing anything extra. When you get to the semifinals and the finals, that's when they're doing extra stuff. And the way it's worked out. The teams that make it to the semifinals will play. The other teams will play a regular season game. The semifinal game will count toward the records. The 2 teams that win to go to the finals, those 2 teams, when they play, that game doesn't count. So they'll play an extra game during the season. So instead of 82 games in a year, they'll play 83 games. But as a consolation, the winning team, each player on the winning team gets $500,000. For the championship. Each player on the losing team for the championship that finished second gets $250,000. And then it's like for the semifinals, I think it's $100,000 and $50,000. So there is incentives for the players to want to play for this quote unquote NBA Cup.
NBA Cup.
Yeah, for the NBA Cup. There's incentives for them to want to do it. I just don't know if it's enough incentive. It's enough for the teams, the players, toward the end of the bench that are looking at minimum contracts, because $500,000 when you making $500,000, you double your salary in one game. Oh yeah, it's well worth it. But for
if I'm making $65 million,
these 60 these supermax players, it's just like a regular NBA game to them. So, and hopefully the competitive juices will start flowing, and they're going to want to win. But you're talking basketball games in November and December. They don't really care too much about
those are the dog days of the year.
You don't really start playing basketball until February after the Super Bowl.
That's why I think they're putting it during that time to kind of get them through those dog days where some of the players aren't playing as hard, or a lot of them are sleepwalking.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to liven it up, and give them some incentive. But I mean, it's kind of crazy, like you said, that you have to do something to give players who have been paid handsomely incentive to play hard. I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. What I think about it is, for me, okay, so this is what I go back to. I go back to the draft and how we were talking about nobody knew who any of these players were. So why not have a tournament with the G League players? That's incentive for them.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you don't have to pay them. You don't have to do $500,000 for each person. So it would be cheaper. But it gives people a chance to see these cats play before they get drafted. So we know who G League Ignite is. We know who these players are that are coming in and that are going to be drafted. And you get a chance to showcase them. Because like dudes were saying earlier, or maybe you were saying, it might have been both of y'all were saying that you can't find the games on TV anywhere. So we don't know who any of these people are. Mm-hmm. You can't, how you going to incentivize somebody that's already making $30 million with $500,000? That's not an incentive to me. The players also, it's the idea too about it is that when you start talking about the NBA Cup, well, it's not like all of a sudden the Houston Rockets are going to turn around and win the NBA Cup. The team that's going to win the NBA Cup more than likely is going to be one of the teams that's going to make it to the playoffs and go to the NBA Finals anyway. So it more than likely is going to be somebody like Denver. It's going to be somebody like the Lakers. It's not like you're incentivizing it so that the younger players or the teams that aren't doing well are going to be in contention to win the NBA Cup. So the tournament itself doesn't really make any sense to me. For me, I think it would be better if they went and got the G League teams to play in the tournament to showcase the G League players. In the same way I feel about the dunk contest. Go get some more these TikTok videos that we be watching. Have a number of regional dunk contests. Mm-hmm. Don't televise them because we don't want to see them till we get to the dunk contest. But then let them cats come and dunk during it. Since we can't get none of the all-star players to get in the dunk contest, let's get some of these guys to come really do some real dunks and give them some money and incentivize it for them. Because again, an all-star NBA player who comes to win the dunk contest, they win $125,000. Ooh, like Simi, do not take my pocket change. That's pocket money to them.
But then again, would that classify as an NBA dunk contest? Because no NBA players would be in it.
Sponsored by the NBA.
But don't get me wrong. I'd rather watch them than the NBA players.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It can still be the NBA dunk contest. It can still be sponsored by the NBA, but you just have other guys that are coming to compete. Just like, or even if you use the guy that Philadelphia went and got on a 10-day contract, came and won the dunk contest, and then they sent him back down to the G League. Even if you use the G League players to come in, they're going to come in incentivized. They're going to come in excited because they're going to get an opportunity to win $125,000, $250,000, where they're only making $80,000 or something in the G League. So for me, if you're trying to grow the game and you trying to get teams overseas and play games overseas and all those kinds of things, if you're trying to grow the game and develop the game, grow it that way. Let us see these other people who are coming up. You drafted them into the NBA. You have a G League. So let us see these G League players. And I think that would be one of the ways to do that, would be to allow them to participate in the dunk contest. Let them do this preseason tournament or whatever. if you're worried about load management and all this kind of stuff, well, then give the players a break so they can come watch it while you're so you can put all the attention on this tournament or whatever that's happening. Kind of like the TBT tournament that they do in the summer that I enjoy. I like the TBT tournament, to tell you the truth. I love that Elam ending. So I think that there are better ways to be able to do this than what they're doing. I really, honestly, and it remains to be seen, but I don't like this idea of this in-season tournament.
All right, let me go on your dunk contest. The way I wanted to see it. First off, I want to go back to the 80s rules where you got 2 dunks in the first round. You have whatever your field is, and then you drop down to 4, and then you get 2 dunks in the second round. You drop down to the 2, and then they get 2 dunks. That's it. I don't want this time limit. I want you to be able to dunk 15 times. You got 2 dunks. That's it.
And miss 15 dunks.
And similar to what you're saying, D, I would do a regional tournament. A regional dunk contest for Northwest, Southeast, and Midwest, just like they have for NCAA. Those 4 winners will come to the dunk contest. I would get 4 players from the G League, and then I'll get 4 players from the NBA. So that's how I have these 12 dunkers. Like I said, you get 2 dunks. You go from 12 to 4, then you go from 4 to 2, and then you get your champion or whatever. But that way you got super hungry people that are not in the league at all, that's looking to make a name for themselves, that might actually get a G League contract. Then you have these G League players who want to be in the NBA. They may perform and may get that NBA contract. And you got these NBA players that don't want to get overshadowed
by people off the street.
Yeah, get beat up by these other folks.
So they,
now that's the
have this extra motivation.
You won't get the stars, but you ain't getting the stars right now anyway. But what you will get is a much more exciting dunk contest. So that's what I want to see for the dunk contest. Now go back to let's
make sure we copyright this so nobody steals our idea.
And real quick with the dunk contest tournament or whatever, the NBA can get all kinds of publicity just for that, right? Get all kinds of sponsors, that just local sponsors that just want to sponsor these people, whatever. Anyway, now to the tournament thing, I would rather see if you want to have a tournament, let's have a tournament after the NBA finals, with the NBA champion going against have a tournament with all of the world winners,
like they used to,
like the Turkish league, the Euro league, all these different leagues get together and have a world tournament. Now that's what I would like to see. To have the World Cup. Well, it is a World Cup, but have a World Cup of basketball championship. That's the tournament I want to see. I really don't want to see. It's to me this in season tournament. All it is a money grab.
Yes,
all it is.
And that's all it is, because it serves no purpose. There is no. If you win this cup, then what?
Yeah,
you're not the NBA champion.
Right.
You still got what?
You won't be crowned the greatest of all time, or
you got no. I'm sorry. You have 7 more months of basketball to play from December to June to actually win a championship. So what is the point of this in-season tournament? There is no point to me. Although I will give it a chance. I'm going to watch it, of course.
We'll see,
and we'll see what it does. But at this moment, nah, I'm straight. I'm good. I'm good. But yeah, we've talked about a whole lot of stuff today, man. We've talked about.
So at this point, until further notice, this is how we feel about the in-season tournament. Okay.
Yep, that's how we feel. That's how we feel.
It's gone bad.
That's how we feel. So on Pump It and Dump It, we're dumping it. We're dumping it. Yeah, we've talked about the Wimbledon. We've talked about
the Wimbledon.
Yeah, we've talked about the Wimbledon. We talked about the PGA and the Live golfers, the situation with them. We talked about Major League Baseball, the All-Star game, and how we didn't really like the
home run derby.
The home run derby. We talked about the WNBA All-Star Game and how if you're not a fan of WNBA basketball, but you're a fan of basketball, then you need to become a fan of WNBA basketball because the girls be balling. We talked about the NFL free agency for the running backs, how they're being devalued. We talked about the NCAA coaching situations at Northwestern and at West Virginia, Northwestern with the basketball and football coach. We talked about Jalen Green and his friends.
What were they doing?
They were flipping each other. They had a playful Pluke going on. We talked about the NBA Summer League. we talked about the trades that haven't happened with James Harden and with Damian Lillard. And we also talked about the proposed NBA in-season tournament and the rule changes with the NBA that's going on right now. So we had a nice long conversation, nice good conversation. We hope you guys enjoyed it. So on behalf of Dorian from Richmond, California, on behalf of Dudes who's coming to us, I was about to say Virginia, who's coming to us from Florissant, Missouri, and on behalf of me, Rod D, if you enjoyed what we said, we thank you. But if you didn't, kiss it. And guess what? We out.
Don't blame it on sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. I don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie.